Namaskar, Jai Guru. Viewers,
Namaskar, Jai.
we have been greeting you all every day in a particular way. Hello and Namaskar is fine, but at the end we end up saying Jai Guru. So some of you must be wondering what we mean by that. Uh, I think we'll do a special session on this, what we actually mean by this. But little meaning of Joy Guru is we are praising the Lord, and more than praising, we are wishing victory to Lord. Now, that might sound confusing. Who we are to ask for victory of Lord. So we'll have special session on that. And it has become our habit to greet each other and greet the whole world like that. Now, when you talk of habit, habit is just outcome of some mental activity, right? But when our habits control us, now these mental activities, when we can control those activities, those remain as habits. But when habits start controlling us, this turns into what we know as addiction. So viewers, today we will be discussing on this burning issue, burning topic. The whole world is burning because of addictions of many various kinds. Parents are suffering to see their children, youngsters, growing up kids are getting addicted to many things. So we'll try to touch upon few of those in today's session, and in continued session we will be covering more, not only discussing about the types of habits, the reason behind, and also the way out, some concrete solutions, what we mean by de-addiction. But before that, what are addictions? So Suryada.
You are absolutely right, as you said, that the whole world is suffering from addictions. Millions of people in this world are addicted to something or other. Addiction has many forms. Someone is addicted to drugs, somebody to alcohol, somebody to mobile phones or video games. Somebody is addicted to social media. It's compulsive. Sri Thakur Anukul Chandra says when the mind is attached to worldly things, it is addiction. So when the mind is obsessively, compulsively attached to something material, something worldly, it is addiction. And addiction can be, if it is not checked or controlled, it can be devastating. Families have been ruined, lives have been destroyed. So-called intellectual, educated people, once they fall prey to addiction, they completely destroy their own lives. So addiction is detrimental, it's fatal. When we look at the science of addiction, or if you look at the neuroscience of addiction, generally when we take some substance like a drug or alcohol, etc., typically what happens is brain releases a hormone called dopamine. And dopamine is a chemical or hormone which is responsible for our motivation. It gives us a high. It gives us a lot of satisfaction. It is called the happiness hormone. So typically, when something good happens in our life, we feel happy. It is because of the release of dopamine. And normally, dopamine release is between 40 nanograms to about 100 nanograms per deciliter. But when we take substances like drugs, it releases huge amount of dopamine, sometimes 10 times the normal reward system. So normally, somebody on a very, very motivated state probably would have 100 nanograms of dopamine. But when someone takes cocaine, for example, it could release 10 times more dopamine. So what happens? There is excitement. There is great delight. And then nothing else seems satisfying. So when somebody is under the influence of drug, he feels that he is on a high, and even going to the birthday party of his child is not exciting enough, or is not a happy thing compared to being in the influence of some drugs or alcohol. So so that's a problem. So the brain starts craving for more dopamine. And the way the brain, the pathways are wired, they become, after some time, they're sensitive. So after some time they become less receptive. So the amount of dopamines, probably the brain needs more quantity of dopamine, because if earlier they were happy with certain quantity, the mind is not happy with that. The brain also starts releasing less amount of dopamine. So now, if with one dose of cocaine, I had certain amount of dopamine, in the second instance when I take it, or in the third instance when I take it, I do not get the same amount of dopamine. So to get the same level of heightened happiness, I crave for more alcohol or more drugs. And that's how we get addicted. And when huge amount of dopamines are released, they also influence, because dopamine is not only responsible for giving us a high or happiness, it is also responsible for our memory, for our decision making processes in the brain. So huge amount of dopamine then start influencing, affecting our memory system, our decision making process, and then we become completely a diseased person, because our brain gets disrupted. And that is a very dangerous situation to be in. And what man starts doing at that point in time, if you don't have enough means to have alcohol, probably one would steal money to buy alcohol. Because in the absence of alcohol, a person doesn't the addicted person does not get enough dopamine. So he feels that he's not going to survive, because dopamine creates motivation in us. If I don't have enough motivation, I may not even get up in the morning and go to office. So and then the body and the mind starts craving for more and more and more dopamine. And and then we kind of try to get more alcohol or more drugs, depending on what we are addicted to. And in the process, we get completely destroyed. It destroys our health, our mind, our brain, our relationships, our financial condition. It kind of affects everything. It becomes disastrous. I just try to kind of give a scientific view of addiction, and then why and how addiction starts, and then how it kind of intensifies and becomes more and more acute. Over to you for your thoughts.
Yeah, my thoughts. I was collecting my thought, but meanwhile, I had lost the network connection. When I got you
Yeah,
back, at that time, the two opening words were happiness hormone. So for a few seconds, I lost connection. You spoke about this network drop that happened. It reminds me of this. In a nutshell, if we want to uh, think about the effects of drug addiction, we are discussing right now about drug addiction, right? In a nutshell, we can say that if we are addicted to drugs, it cuts all the internal network. We lose our control over ourselves. Our motor sensory network get disconnected, and
very
then
true.
we are not in our control. Some unknown forces are controlling us. And as you spoke about happiness, yeah, so this is one good thing, and this is the ultimate truth. Actually, all of us, no matter what we are doing, whether we are doing good or bad, it is the society to judge that. But whatever we are doing for our happiness, right? At times we are not finding the right way, so we are choosing the way, but ultimately the goal is happiness. And that takes the shape of addiction. We don't know now. One thing our Guru Sri Sri Thakur used to say, he used to refer to Thakur Ramakrishna Dev when Thakur Ramakrishna Dev said that every kind of addiction, every kind of misery in the world, the root cause behind that is addiction to two things. He says, he said in Bangla, which literally means gold and woman. He said by gold he meant wealth and woman. So addiction to these two are the root cause of every kind of misery. Now it's a huge statement. Um, so how we get into this in search of happiness, uh, and when we start not accepting the reality, because reality at times is harsh. If we don't have the courage to face reality, we want to go to an imaginary world, to a surreal world, and whatever can take us there, we choose that, because mm, sufferings of reality, to face the suffering or to overcome those suffering, it needs strength. So when we don't have that inner strength, we find some other ways. uh, and this drug industry, how cunningly they name one particular drug as ecstasy. Now when you talk of happiness, extreme happiness is ecstasy, right? And I don't know whoever named that particular drug as ecstasy, what was playing in the mind of that person or the group of people. So it's a real challenge for the parents, and even for the addicts also. Once
Yeah.
they get into the trap of the addiction, how to come out of that. So I
Yes.
think we'll discuss about this before going to any other kind of maybe we'll touch upon one more type of addiction today. But before going to that second kind, we'll try to find out some ways, concrete ways, to come out of drug addiction in particular. Yeah, Surya.
I think we can look at it in different phases. At an initial stage of addiction, probably it's a little easier to come out of it. But once one goes deep into it, and then more and more, as you said, the mind and brain is controlled by something else. The man completely loses control over himself. Then it becomes very difficult, because from as long as it is a habit, maybe it can be fixed. But when it becomes a disease, a physiological, a psychological, a mental disease, then it requires a very different kind of treatment. I think Sri Sri Thakur Anukul Chandra says that when you have any sense of addiction, when you feel that you are getting addicted to something, he said, immediately engage yourself in an activity which is completely different from drugs, alcohol, whatever, and completely immerse yourself into that, where there is not even any iota or any semblance of that addiction, which is completely different. All of us know that the story of his childhood, when he felt that he was getting addicted to sweets. He used to go to one sweet shop and then buy sweets regularly and eat. And then someday he realized that he has become addicted. And it so happened that he did not have enough money to buy sweets. And probably once or twice he probably took sweets from the shopkeeper on credit. And the shopkeeper also scolded him for not paying up in time. He decided that I'm going to give up this habit. Purushottam kind of demonstrates the right action, right practice through their own actions. So Sri Sri Thakur Anukul Chandra obviously is above all of these things, but he has demonstrated all this through his own actions so that we can learn from him. So I think he said he went into a field, and I think some agriculture field, and then when he had this strong urge for sweets, Instead of going to the sweet shop, he ran into the field where there were crops. So he just lied down on the field, holding some of the crops tightly, and then he lied down there for a long time. And once the urge for sweets evaporated, he got up and then went back home. So what a great example. So I think he says whenever you have a sense of addiction, whenever you're addicted, whenever you're drawn towards something, pulled something which is not good for your existence, not good for your body or mind, engage yourself in something completely different, which is completely detached from this, and then engage yourself in this kind of activity whenever you have that urge. I think after a few days or weeks, you will see that that addiction has gone away from you. Any other
Yeah.
ways that you would like to talk about?
Yes, Thakur said all this, and he showed also through practicing, and he also said
Yes.
about this that say when we uh, take something, some substance, whatever it may be, drugs or alcohol, we get intoxicated, right? And these kind of intoxications are life-destroying intoxication, right? So to get rid of this sort of life destroying intoxication, what Thakur says is try to find some other ways of intoxication which are life supporting, and not just life supporting, which are life elevating. In our Indian parlance, we say nasha. To get rid of one kind of nasha, which can destroy us, which we are convinced that these are destroying us, we need to get into a different kind of nasha or intoxication 24/7. And that intoxication is presented to us only in the field of spiritual science. So spirituality gives us this kind of intoxication where we remain at a different plane all the time. And
Satsang
that
is a great example, isn't it?
yes,
You
and
know,
that plane, yes,
yeah,
many people have transformed. So real life
yeah,
stories of transformation. So
yeah.
many setback stories transformed into comeback stories. And for Sisi Thakur, every life is important. Every life has purpose, and nobody has any right to destroy that. So whoever the creator be, uh, he, she, it doesn't matter. Uh, we have been sent by the creator with a purpose. So we just need to offer ourselves and offer ourselves as medium. And this kind of intoxication, why it happens? Okay, there are multiple issues, many reasons. Like somebody said nicely about drugs, that it's not the drugs that make a drug addict. It's not the drugs that make drug addicts. It's the need to escape the reality. So there is deep meaning in this. And as
Yeah.
I started by saying that this word reality I used, that when we lose the courage to face the reality, we try to take ourselves to imaginary world, surreal world, and for that
Yeah,
market is open with all those products. So ultimately,
absolutely.
what it means is we need to connect to reality. We need to connect to ourselves, to our inner selves, and that is Sri Thakur says, right? If mastery within awakens not, master center none you have. So the choice is ours, whether we want to remain as slaves to all these addictions or we want to become the masters. Surya.
Very well said. I think I liked what you said. It. Drugs is one type of intoxication. If you have another intoxication, which can kind of drive you away from that, I recall this example. Every addiction is a pull. It tries to pull us into some direction. So if you look at the example of an aeroplane, it takes off. But we also know about the gravitational pull. The pull of gravity always tries to pull the aeroplane down, but the aeroplane still takes off because it has a stronger pull which is stronger than the pull of gravity, and it pierces through that pull of gravity, and it takes off and rises above the land, because the pull of gravity is weaker than the pull of that the pull that the aeroplane has, and the aeroplane uses to rise above the pull of gravity. So similarly, if we have this pulls of addiction, but if you have a stronger pull which is stronger than this pull of addiction, we can pierce through this addiction, and actually we can rise above that. And that stronger pull is only the master or guru, the love center in our life. If you have unwavering love towards the master, I can say that no pull in this world is stronger than the pull of the master, the magnetic pull of the master. We just need to attach ourselves to the master, and I think the rest will be taken care of. Like Sri Thakur says, when the mind is attached to worldly things, it is addiction. But when the mind is attached to the divine, it is devotion. So that attachment to divine or to the love center, to master or guru, is the solution in my mind.
Yeah, I think Sureda, we can wind up this. And when we are talking about, you were talking about aeroplane, you could perhaps see a smile on my face. I was thinking of that Bernoulli's principle. Those of us who have studied science, we know the basic principle which guides the flight of aeroplane is Bernoulli's principle. So I was thinking of that. Viewers, don't worry, I am not going deep into that Bernoulli's principle. The word principle is important here. The principles of life as presented to us by Sri Thakur. So in our coming episodes, we will be discussing about those simple principles and how to bring those principles into practice. And these are the solutions, far-reaching solutions and simple solutions. So with this,
Absolutely.
I think we'll wind up today's session, and we could touch upon just slightly. We could touch upon this addiction. I think only on drug addiction we have to have more than one session with some real life example. Backstage today before the event, you were sharing with me about one of your
Right.
friends, yeah, real life
Yes.
case, how the parents are really struggling
Yes.
to bring the child back to normalcy. So viewers will be discussing about all this, and if you have some real life cases, you can refer them to us. We are not doctors, but we know the address of the doctors. At least if the smile in our faces can convince you that we are beyond all those nasty intoxications, but we are always intoxicated 24/7. What is that? Let it remain as a secret for now. We'll meet again and again, and our family will grow. So, bye bye till we meet next time with maybe this addiction or another type of addiction. Jai Guru.
Jai Guru.